Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 111 of the Civil Gore podcast. I don't know what 111 is, Brian, but it's less than 666.
Well, since 11 is my favorite number, it's like a bonus of that. So...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm your host, Tim.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, hopefully people know you by now. I mean, me, I'm forgettable, but no one can forget those dulcet tones.
I totally botched the intro.
It's okay. I think we're okay. We've done enough intros in the past that we don't need to have the same one. But, well, just to summarize, that was Tim, this is Brian, and this is the Civil Gore podcast.
Well, what a perfect time to explain how we're not going to have much editing on this podcast because we're recording so late in the week.
Yes, and it's funny because part of the reason why we actually bumped it this time was because we actually got a great interview. Someone we got to meet at the New Jersey Horror Con, which I have to say is really the gift that keeps on giving because
it really is.
We've had so much fun, so many things. So many guests from there, but another guest was, we remember when we mentioned in the recap show, we had met him on the way, literally, back from my car to drop off some stuff to go back into the con for the rest of the few hours, and we bumped into him. It was author A Cohen of the EXIT Zero Zombie Trilogy, and he's got a new book coming out. So he was actually, we knew his book was going to be coming out in October, his newest one. So, and we kind of told, kind of left it informal, like, hey, well, let's touch base as it gets closer. And he reached out saying it's almost out. And so we said, well, let's do the interview now. So yeah, we're going to have that coming up after the first chop. A great interview. But it was a really good interview, so it was pretty long, which was kind of, we decided let's push our regular recording then to Wednesday because Tim forgot it was back to school week over there in Wilmington.
Oh yeah. Yeah, back to school week is bad for podcast recording, let me tell you, because it's so busy. My wife works for the school system, so she's like super stressed and busy, so... But, the show must go on, right?
Yes.
Horror stops for nobody. So,
and plus, we did get, Cody had once said, she goes, I don't know why you guys always say and say like, oh, be prepared for some bad things, because she said our unedited shows turn out to be better. So I don't know what that says for Tim's editing or our natural ability to put on a great show.
I think it saves me a lot of editing time. I just won't edit anything anymore.
Right, that's it. No more editing.
Just do it live.
Civil Gore Raw. That's what you're getting.
All right, well, let's get right into it, guys. This is our first chop. All right, so Brian, my 40 Years of Terror project continues, and this time it was time to party like it's 1999.
Oh.
Yeah, you know how I am with the 90s and horror. I'm not a super huge fan of 90s horror because there was some down years there. Right. But 1999 had a few good things. They had The Haunting, but that's not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
that was a pretty bad remake. But the Blair Witch Project, of course.
Right.
You had the fabulous, I thought, House on Haunted Hill. Still one of my favorites.
Love that. Absolutely. That's one we need to do.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's a lot of fun. I'd like to do that one kind of closer to Halloween. I think that'd be a great one.
Right. I mean, the sequel was less than lived up to the original remake, basically.
Right.
But that one that we're talking about, the 90s version, that's one I think we need to do. That I think we should just almost like pencil that in for October. Yeah,
we'll definitely do that. We had Sleepy Hollow. We had Ravenous, which is a great one.
I like Sleepy Hollow too. I thought that was pretty good.
I did too. I think it sometimes gets a bad rap, but I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
And of course, the classic of all time, The Sixth Sense. Was 1999. You had Kevin Bacon and Stir of Echoes. You had Idle Hands, Lake Placid. So there was some good stuff in 1999. We were starting to get to the end of the decade. You started getting some better stuff. And I had seen most of them. So again, I was challenged to find something I had not watched yet. And you may be surprised at my pick, Brian, because the one I chose was a Puppet Master film. And as big a fan as I am of the Puppet Master series, I had actually not seen this one. I kind of skipped over it.
Well, there's only 75 of them, so...
Right, so you can be forgiven to skip a few. This is Retro Puppet Master, 1999. This was Full Moon's kind of a prequel to the Puppet Master series, and it tells a story of a young Toulon, who is the titular puppet master, I guess you would say, of the series. But it's him as a young guy when he's first given the gift to bring the puppets to life by by this Egyptian wizard or sorcerer. So you have the story of him being given this power, and then he's on the run from these 3 Egyptian mummies, which spin the film in disguise as non-mummies. They kind of adopt the period of what time period they're in, and they have really bad makeup effects. And they're kind of chasing the sorcerer, and then they're chasing Toulon for this secret because it's the secret of life, and he can give it to inanimate objects. So, Brian, here's the question. Can you not like a movie's acting, special effects, dialogue, etc., and still really enjoy the movie?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Because somehow that happened. I don't know how.
Well, I guess that's one of those, it's so bad it's good things. If you break down that sentiment, maybe that's what you find.
It's weird because I don't get that feeling from it, because it didn't feel like it was so bad it was good. It just felt like it was bad, but it was good. I don't know. It was very weird. So maybe it's just because I like the Puppet Master series, and it was neat to see very crude versions of Blade and Six Shooter and Drill Sergeant and all the puppets you've come to know and love over the course of the series, and they're like in these crude wooden forms in this movie. But they're still kind of scary.
I don't even think I knew this one existed, let alone forget about not
really
seeing
strange.
it.
But I don't know, I actually really enjoyed it in some kind of cheesy way. And there are Puppet Master movies that I don't like. I believe, I don't know, there was one in my box set that I just almost fell asleep through. It was so bad. But I don't know, I kind of enjoyed this one. So I would...
Maybe this is your guilty pleasure, that's all.
It's a guilty pleasure, yeah. Retro Puppet Master, 1999, if you want to see like just a different take on your favorite puppets. It's kind of charmingly entertaining. I don't know how else to describe it. The other thing I had was not on my project list. This was a Netflix series that I probably talked about the first season of this back when it came out, and that is Mindhunter. And I know this is kind of horror adjacent because it's about serial killers, and it's based on a true story of how the FBI created their criminal profiling unit to track down serial killers, and one of the things they did was interview serial killers, which had never been done before. There'd never been some kind of scientific approach to interview serial killers, try to understand their motives, and fit that into a way to profile killers and possibly catch future killers. And the first season was all about the FBI's attempt to get this program off the ground, overcome the obstacles they faced. Fantastic performances, fantastic acting, just a really good show. I'll have to say season 2 ups the ante. It's better in every way than season 1. As good as season 1 was, season 2 is even better. And it's kind of nice because now the program is a little bit more established, and so they start branching out into other killers. So you get interviews with Charles Manson and Son of Sam and all these very famous killers portrayed in the show. And it's, oh man, just the performances that these actors do for these killers, and the appearance spot on. Like the guy that plays David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, just spot on. The guy that plays Charles Manson, spot on. Very, very entertaining show. I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of true crime, or even if you're a fan of horror. I will have to say, Brian, I watch a ton of horror movies for this podcast all the time, and I watch them right before bedtime most of the time. I never have nightmares. I sleep like a baby. This show gave me nightmares.
Oh, no.
Because it's so close to real life, and it has like BTK Killer, and that's the one I had the nightmare about. Because this stuff really happened.
Right.
I would highly, highly recommend Mindhunters, both seasons if you haven't, and especially season 2. If you watch season 1 and haven't started this one yet, definitely go for it.
How long is each episode? An hour?
They're an hour, and I don't know how many episodes season 1 had, but season 2 was 9 episodes, so you probably 9 or 10 episodes a season.
Yeah, I gotta watch the. Actually, Julie, it's funny when you said Charles Manson. Julie was just watching this documentary on Charles Manson. It was more focused a lot on the cult women.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, super creepy. Just hearing them, how they were so disillusioned and believed that, and how he just preyed on them so easily because they were so vulnerable, and it was it's really disturbing, actually.
Yeah, I think you would really like this show if you're at any any kind of fan of true crime and serial killers, not a fan in terms of enjoying what they do, but a fan of true crime. There is such a thing.
Yeah. Oh no. Like this. You know what it is? I think there's something, and I know it's going to sound weird, but there's something so interesting in it. You know, I mean, but at the same time, it's frightening because it did happen. You know, it's not like like you said, it's not like watching all these horror movies, but there's something so interesting and engaging to it, and it's weird because you know it's like some horrible things are seen through these shows and documentaries when it's based on a real thing, but it's like I don't know what it is that I mean, tons of people are drawn into it, so we shouldn't feel like oddballs or anything.
No, for me, it's like I've always been interested in psychology. In school, my original focus of study was going to be psychology early on, so I think that's where my interest in it comes from. I've always been interested in how people think and why they do the things they do. I didn't end up going that route, but I'm still interested in it. So, yeah.
Right. Well, I'm glad you didn't go that route.
No,
because otherwise we'd probably have no time for this podcast.
Or we'd be doing a true crime podcast instead.
Right, one or the other. But there's a lot of those out there too. I mean,
there is. Yeah, there's a lot of those. So, all right, Brian, you saw a movie I really want to see.
Yes,
that's the one we talked about last episode, I believe.
Yeah, and so being a huge fan of the Banana Splits growing up, once I saw that this thing was coming out, I had to see this. I knew it was gonna be an automatic buy. It was gonna be an automatic watch. So, all right. So here's the thing about it. Obviously, I don't want to go into too many details, but I will say tons of great gore in it. They did not hold back on the gore. Lots of gore.
Nice. Okay.
It managed to fit in every cliche possible, and I'm not just talking about horror cliches. I'm talking about every cliche from every movie. But and you know, while I enjoyed it, I will say the one thing is I guess being a fan of the Banana Splits, there was a couple of funny little references to it, but it seems like it could have been anything in there, and it would have been like it could have been just a completely made up children's show.
Well, see, that makes me wonder how I'm going to view it, because even though I knew who the Banana Splits were, I didn't watch the show growing up. So to me, it's a little foreign. Like if you put all the characters out there, I couldn't name the characters. I know who the Banana Splits are in general.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see how I take the movie versus you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think you'll enjoy it. Like I said, I kind of put that, I put that on the shelf while I watched it too, realizing that, okay, they're trying to go horror, so it's not like they could exactly, mimic the show. I mean, it was just when you see it, I mean, you still may get the vibe what I'm talking about, but it's so fun. Like, they literally poke fun at everything in this at some, at the same time it being a true horror film. I mean, there's, they make fun of those parents who try and shove their kids onto children's shows to get noticed, and they make fun of the Instagrammers, hey, I'm live tweeting from it, like all that stuff, like, and which, I mean, they hit that dead on because it's just as obnoxious as it is on that.
The stuff we're too old to do.
Yeah, well, no, and it's like, it's one thing if you use that for it's like, we'll use that every occasion. We've not live stream, but we've sent videos from places, but it's to enhance our our existing podcast per se. Right. But like you've watched some of those things, like how cheesy they get with like, oh, here I am live in front of and like, especially if you if you have any interest in seeing what Disneyland is like, I swear to God, you'd get the idea that every single guest is live tweeting, which is many of those out there as there are, but so it's like that. They get that in. They get the like all the same characters, tropes of a horror film. There's the budding romance, the just all that stuff, like the naive child, and it's but it's still it's enjoyable because I love what they do with the gore in it. Really, really don't hold back on the gore. So it still managed to succeed as a good horror film. It's just what I'm saying is, like, you could have replaced the Banana Splits with anybody,
right? And
it still would have worked. Now, granted, I may not have quite have been drawn to it as quickly as I did if it wasn't the banana splits. So that's partially probably why they used a recognizable.
Right. Yeah, that is a gimmick to get people in,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do not say it's a non-recommend. I do recommend it because it's, as a horror film, it works well.
Cool.
So, and it's funny. It's got funny because it's the banana splits at the same time.
All right, next up, Blumhouse's Invisible Man has had its release date moved up to February 28th, and I'm really looking forward to this. I have not cracked open my Universal Invisible Man collection, which I got last year, I believe. I think it was last year. Or was it early this year? I can't remember. Whenever it was released, that was a pre-order. But I'm really looking forward to going through those discs because I'm not really familiar with the Invisible Man movies.
Me either. I mean, I've seen more parodies of them.
Right, and I've seen Hollow Man, of course, with Kevin Bacon back in the day. But I've never, the original Invisible Man movies. I may have seen the first one a long time ago, but I don't remember anything about it. Definitely have not seen the sequels.
Right. Actually, one of my favorite parody type segments of the Invisible Man is, do you remember the movie Amazon Women on the Moon? Where they had that segment at the end where Ed Begley Jr. plays the Invisible Man, but he's visible, but he just thinks he's invisible. So he goes, ooh, and he's like moving stuff around, and everyone in the town just is so fed up with it. They go, oh, how did that move? So it's pretty funny. But yeah, same here. And remember, we did toy with one year doing as a summer vacation, like a full summer of just the Universal monsters spreading the whole summer, which I think would be an amazing, amazing summer vacation.
That would be super cool. Brian, that game Horrified, which we've talked about.
Yes,
I think you
which I bought. I own it, Tim. You've inspired me to start my gaming career.
Yeah, we'll have to play it when you come down. But
oh, absolutely. Yes, that is a guarantee.
They have the Invisible Man promo I talked about, which was modeled in translucent. The one that comes with the game is purple, I think. The promo I got at Gen Con was translucent, but they had actually, the suggestion had come up to make the Invisible Man figure just the base.
Oh, that would be hilarious. That would be awesome.
So you saw it was a base because the figure's invisible. What?
Yeah. Oh. Or just like a really thin thing and just the head or something. Something to make it, yes.
Well, what's interesting is I found out they actually did that for another game. There was a Lord of the Ring game, or a Hobbit game, I can't remember, maybe Lord of the Rings, that one of the miniatures was Frodo with the ring on, which of course turns him completely invisible. So the miniature actually was just the base for that figure. Funny. I thought that was cool.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Very interesting to see if that kind of I hate to say resurrects interest in Universal Monsters, because it sounds like from what we're getting from Universal Studios, they're opening up a new Universal Monsters area in their new theme park. It sounds like
the house this year. There's a house.
There's a house. The game. You got this Horrified game. It almost seems like they're already coming back in popularity without anything driving it. They're just coming back. So I was about to say, does this bring back more popularity for the Universal Monsters? But maybe they already are.
Well, remember they were trying to. Blumhouse has saved that whole Dark Universe thing that was going to start with the Mummy, but the Mummy did so bad. But now the Blumhouse kind of brought this pretty quickly, so I think hopefully this saves it from going the way. And with the popularity of it, this between that and this and Blumhouse behind it, I think this will keep it there.
If they would just make a Creature movie, please. Creature from the Black Lagoon movie.
Wasn't that on the list? I think that's one they should do sooner or later because that's one that hasn't been touched. I mean, granted, okay, you could say, Shape of Water had a little bit
yeah, I mean that was
but that wasn't the same.
Yeah. I would love to see a true horror movie, Creature from the Black Lagoon remake, Resurrection, whatever you want to call it. That would be super, super cool.
Yes.
Next up, John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night may have found a new life at Paramount. So tell me about this one, Brian.
Yeah, I don't have much on it other than it was a show he was going to do, and apparently it was kind of like listed as dead in the water. But I guess Bloody Disgusting was reporting that it may actually now get a new life from Paramount. So I take it that they're going to kind of do, I guess because it was a novel, right? And they were going to do a show from it. So I guess it's kind of coming back. It's an very, very early stages from what I understand of Paramount backing it. So I'm going to actually do a little more research on it because the little bit I saw, it didn't have much. Usually I try and include, in our rundown some more facts about it, but it really wasn't a lot yet. So I just wanted to kind of touch on it, and it'll be something we'll keep an eye on, because anything John Carpenter, you know,
for sure.
we're all in. So
this next one is completely non-horror, but we had to include it because it's so us, I guess.
it really is.
So you guys know the Disney Plus streaming channels coming out in November, highly anticipated. I'm like throwing money at Disney right now. I take my money. I want this streaming platform because they're having all the Star Wars shows, original shows. They're having some killer Marvel series coming out on it. Then, of course, with me having kids, you got all the Disney movies on top of that. So yeah, this is a no-brainer for both me and Brian, you know, especially for the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
But they introduced a new series. The trailer is out for it, called The World According to Jeff Goldblum. And this is literally Jeff Goldblum going around and just learning about random things.
Oh my God.
Like ice cream.
Too cool.
And the trailer is everything I wanted in this series. Like if you pitched me, hey, we're going to do a show about Jeff Goldblum traveling around just learning about random stuff, and the trailer delivered exactly that. It's perfect.
And the whole thing about Jeff Goldblum is so funny. It's like he's been a ton of movies, tons of stuff. You know, he's had a long career, and suddenly Jeff Goldblum, his best role is Jeff Goldblum. You know, right. It's like, it's great.
But he embraces his weirdness. That's what I love about it. Like, he knows he's Jeff Goldblum, and he's fine being Jeff Goldblum for other people, you know?
And who doesn't want to see a Jeff Goldblum, you know? It's like...
The only thing I could come close to that would be Nicolas Cage. Like, I think Nicolas Cage is kind of the same category where he's become more than his roles. He's become... Nicolas Cage is his role now.
Yeah, it's like a genre. It's in itself.
He's like become a role of his own person. And that's kind of how Jeff Goldblum is.
But I mean, the funniest thing is like he really is just like, you know, it's like what better role for him than just being himself? I mean, and actually the funniest thing I think the interaction was, I told you this, Tim, is I had an interaction with Steve Cohen. So he texts me, he goes, Jeff Goldblum on Disney? Why isn't he playing his character from Thor? And I said, because he's Jeff Goldblum, and that character in Thor in reality played him.
That's right.
Right?
Still one of my favorite Jeff Goldblum roles of all time was when he was on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the straight man to Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey. Talking about science. That's still one of the funniest sketches of all time.
That probably was one of my favorite sketches of all time. Just his reaction to it, because I have a feeling that's exactly how that would play out in real life. Exactly. If that was really Harry Carey, Jeff Goldblum would act that way. You know, it's like,
it was great. So yeah, sorry for the non-horror diversion, but I had to get that out in there.
Yeah. Well, that whole just a quick more side note to that is that Will Ferrell just was hey. I mean, that used to be the biggest thing. I mean, my friend Mark and I would literally just be quoting that sketch repeatedly.
Oh, I have to watch it. Like every now and again, I just pull it up to watch it. Just like it gives me joy.
How could it not? Really?
So, Brian, I'm skipping the next one. I'm saving that till last.
We should save that till the end.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay, so we'll keep going. A great bit of casting news for Halloween Kills. We got our Tommy Doyle. Of course, we knew Paul Rudd could not do it because he was booked on another project. But Anthony Michael Hall has been cast as Tommy Doyle. I'm a huge Anthony Michael Hall fan. This is going to be really
same
cool.
Here.
When I saw the reaction of this, like everybody was on board. Everybody loved this.
Because everyone loves Anthony Michael Hall, and so it's like to get a big name for Tommy Doyle. You know, like granted, I think everyone. I mean, nothing against Anthony Michael Hall. Paul Rudd would have been everyone's first choice. He played him already. He's beloved. He would add just the right a bit of humor to it, I think, and it'd be perfect. But if you can't get him, I think they knocked it out of the park better than anyone else they could have.
Yeah, that's great.
Because, you know, it's like, I think, you know, the Tommy Doyle is going to have a little bit of darkness to him, but a little bit of like humor to him. And I think that's what I think Anthony Michael Hall will bring. So I'm looking forward to this.
As good as Paul Rudd, and he definitely was, don't get me wrong, would definitely been my first choice. But there's a chance he is so well known for his comedy. Right. There's a chance he could have been a little distracting.
You're right. I agree. And because, I mean... Yeah, I mean, that's where I think the only negative to Paul Rudd being cast is because he is so well, and you would have been expecting him to do, and he probably would have had some comedic lines in it. I guarantee you they could not have resisted. You got you got comedy writers writing this thing, and they did a great job, obviously, making a horror film. But if your first instinct is comedy, and you got Paul Rudd in your toy box. Yeah, that's going to be hard not to give him a couple of great lines.
Right. So next up, Grindhouse is re-releasing the original Evil Dead in 4K to theaters with a reimagined score.
Yeah, and I guess it was by the people that scored Ash vs. the Evil Dead are going to be scoring this.
Oh, cool.
Giving an original...
I don't remember anything about the original Evil Dead score, so it's hard for me to say that's great.
I mean, I liked it.
I don't know. I just don't remember.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It was like, it was obviously like very, early 80s kind of music, but it'd be interesting to get a modern score on it with a 4K retro. I mean, this thing wasn't it filmed in 16 millimeter originally? So to get this into 4K has got to be, that's going to be probably the best visually stunning presentation of this movie you've ever seen, and so to add a brand new high quality soundtrack to it be really interesting. It almost probably gives it it'll almost be like a whole new film.
Yeah, I hope that comes anywhere near close to us. I don't know how widespread this release will be, because we're a small town. We don't get smallish town. We don't get that, the really limited stuff like you would around where you're at, Brian. But,
well, yeah, I mean, Manhattan alone is great. And remember, it's like I'm not far. Manhattan. I'm a drive to Boston. I'm a drive to Philly.
Right, you
DC
can get to it
even.
no matter
I mean,
what,
I can literally get within 5 hours get to like 4 major states that could have this. So I do have a bit of an advantage to see that. So,
speaking of tickets, Brian. You've got your It Chapter 2 tickets purchased already.
Did.
Wow.
Yes,
good for you.
We did get it. Well, it's funny because we were seeing it Thursday night, the preview night. We had Julie and I had the theater near us. We always have these set seats we like. We like the certain row, certain seats, and we usually try and go for those. And almost all the time we can get them if we order early enough. So there was now remember as we discussed this in length, the running time of this is 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think we saw.
Right, yeah.
So we're like, okay, there's this 5 o'clock show and a 9 o'clock show. Obviously we said, okay, well, we could do the 5, we'll just both leave work a little early respectively and just head straight to the theater. But then it's like, well, okay, we're gonna be hungry. It's going to be rushed. Do we really want to just go flying over there, go to this theater, and then, basically turn our whole evening upside down? So we said, let's just suck it up. Maybe we'll do the 9 o'clock. So we're doing the 9 o'clock. Figures it's a Thursday night, so we just need to suffer through a Friday. Which we can do.
That's not
Fridays,
terrible. I've done worse.
Horrible.
I've done midnight screenings for Starlight.
Oh yeah, movies, I've done I've done midnight many a time, and then gone to work the next day. But the thing is, here's the thing. So it turned out the 5 o'clock show, our seats were taken anyway. Some nerve of some people happened to not see our little reserved.
It was fated to be.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to go see the 9. And I told Julie, she's like, well, it's 9 o'clock. We'll be back by 12. I said, yeah, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes plus 20 minutes of trailers plus the few minutes of travel time. I said, we're probably not getting to bed till around 1. So if that's...
It'll be worth it, though, right?
It will be. I think so, too. And plus, that way then we can get home, relax a little bit, eat. I may even take a nap. I don't know.
yeah, prep yourself.
So, yeah.
We got a horror game sale to tell you about, Humble Bundle. If you guys have never been to the Humble Bundle site, it's a good place to get bundled games, and they have book bundles, and they also have a pretty good store for PC games, and they're having a sale on all their horror titles up to 80% off. So if you guys want to check that out.
Did you look at some of them? They have like Dead by Daylight's $9.99, which is 50% off. They have the Friday the 13th game for $3.99.
Yeah.
It's
if you're willing to play that on
off.
PC, yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, yeah, granted, most people have it on console, so I'm sure the PC version suffered a lot, which is why they could probably drop it so much. But like Silent Hill Homecoming is $10. just some of the big, some of those big games like that Fear series is like $4.99 for 3. There's one called the complete series Exorcist Legion VR for $21.20 for the entire series of it.
Yeah, that's the VR game. I don't know what. I'm not sure what.
I don't know.
is.
It's only 15% off, but still, so it's a good price. That Layer of Fear one we've mentioned.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good
Lucius 3 we've mentioned before. The Dead by Daylight Deluxe Edition is only $11.99. So I mean, there's just some incredible games on here, and that's just the first page of them. So I didn't even go through this whole thing yet. So, I mean, there's like Stranger Things 3. I mean, so yeah, definitely check out Humble Bundle and sign up for the newsletter because they send you stuff. I discovered them because Tim found out that they had that Alien Isolation game. So I joined up and I got that and all its extras for like $12.
Yeah.
So I'm on the newsletter. So between that and Fanatical, you will never pay full price for a PC game ever again.
That's for sure. Yeah,
if you pay attention. Yeah.
And then finally, before our last bit of news, I should say.
Yeah, this actually got added while we were on the show right now. It popped up on my Twitter feed.
Now, this is something I did a while back for one of the anniversaries, but the original Ghostbusters is returning to theaters in October with rare alternate takes of famous scenes, Sunday, October 6th and Thursday, October 10th. I did go see Ghostbusters in the theater for, and I don't remember which year, this is maybe a couple years ago, whatever the 30th anniversary or 35th anniversary, one of those. And it was a lot of fun seeing it on the big screen. Now, I was disappointed because it actually looks better on Blu-ray, because I've got like the really nice Blu-ray of it.
Yeah,
and when you see it blown up on a theater screen, they haven't done any kind of remastering. It actually looks worse. So I was a little disappointed when I went and saw it in the theater, because I was like, I've actually watched this in much better quality. But it's still fun to go see it in the movies. So that was pretty cool. And I could be persuaded to go back and see this with the rare alternate takes.
Right.
That would be
well,
cool.
and I'm sure this will be in worse quality because these rare alternate takes probably were definitely not
That's
remastered.
probably, yeah, you're right. So I don't know. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, go see it in the theater again. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Or if you have never seen it, hey, go see it in the theater for the first time.
And guys, we are proud to announce our new mascot for Civil War.
You may have seen her or him, but it's a her.
We don't know what it is.
It's ambiguous. Let's put it this way. It's ambiguous with the sexes because based off of what it is.
Yeah. So you may have seen our Instagram. I posted a funny little picture about us waiting for Halloween, and there's a skeleton featuring wearing a Civil Gore T-shirt and holding my famous tastes like a Halloween store pumpkin pie soda.
Yes. So we don't know if that skeleton is male or female. That's why we left it ambiguous.
But it's great because the name is ambiguous as well. So
yes,
we're originally going to hold a contest to name the skeleton, but Brian came up with the most ideal name that I couldn't hold the contest because this was the name that I was going to pick.
Yeah, Tim and I couldn't resist, and we're going back and forth with names on the text feed, which just is never a good thing because we're always, one, going to crack each other up and distract us from work, and two, we're usually going to come up with something really good that we need to include.
Yes. And so we talked about last week our love of this actress.
Yes.
Parker Posey.
Yes.
As Adam Sandler would say. So we named the skeleton Parker Decomposer.
Yes.
Which I thought was brilliant.
Yes, I think we should be very proud of naming this.
Like, that's the most punish name you could come up with a skeleton.
Yes, does that fit Civil Gore more than anything?
Yeah.
Really.
So we will be posting pictures with Parker Decomposer throughout the Halloween season, because I bought this thing, Brian. I thought this was a fantastic deal. I convinced Olivia, and she is not one to be like, oh, let's blow money on Halloween decorations. Yeah, she's just not into that. And so we were at Lowe's shopping for something practical that I should be buying, which is a back door for our garage. And, of course, they had the Halloween stuff. So I'm freaking out. Halloween's here. Oh, my God. I'm hitting all the buttons, lighting everything up. There's a big jack-o'-lantern I want that has lights all over it. And we see these skeletons. Anna fell in love with this skeleton. I have been looking for probably 2 or 3 years now a good full-size skeleton. And when I say full-size, they're typically 5 foot, which is what Parker Decomposer is.
Yes.
And they're hard to find inexpensive because you see some fairly big ones and they're either like really crappy quality if they're cheap, Or if they're good quality, they're super expensive, like $60-$70, which I'm not going to pay.
No.
So Lowe's, like Lowe's Home Improvement, they had these full-size 5-foot skeletons for $30. And these
That's
things
crazy good.
And these things, and the reason you guys may think I'm crazy. Like Olivia was like, $30, that's insane. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, this is good. Like, this is a really good price. Trust me.
That was the oddest Olivia voice you've ever done, I think. By the way,
and I'm like, I know my skeletons. Like, I've been researching these things for 2 years because I'm weird. And this guy has like actual screws and bolts and nuts that hold his joints together. So
wait, he has nuts, so that might make him a male. Then I guess I don't know.
But he's fully posable. Like you can like crack his knees and like bend him into different shapes because it's actually like these ratcheted screw things. I mean, it's really good quality. So if you're at Lowe's, you see these skeletons, buy one because I'm telling you they're gonna be gone, and you're not gonna find them, and you're not gonna find a big giant skeleton like this for $30. I guarantee you. I looked on Amazon. The cheapest one I could find was like $40, and it wasn't anywhere close to this quality, although it did have LED light up eyes. I'll give it that.
And then you found that other one when you found out that was by some guy on Craigslist who may or may not have been an actual skeleton.
Yeah.
So,
I did see some medical skeletons. This is not a medical skeleton. I don't think this is a real person. I think it's plastic. Maybe.
Well, it's real to us now because it's Parker Decomposer.
Yeah, so Parker
Decomposer.
Well, Parker Decomposer is going to be having all kinds of fun this Halloween season. Currently, she is sitting in my office, which is going to give somebody quite the scare if they actually ever have any guests over. That's going to make for a fun time because I'm going to put Parker Decomposer in a situation where they're not going to expect him.
Well, when I come visit, I'll have to pose.
Yeah. Oh, and we also did the you have to pose. Yeah,
pose or decompose. One of the two. I don't know.
Well, it was funny. So Anna was we did the Walmart grocery store pickup after we had bought Parker Decomposer. And so Anna was dying to trick the guy that comes out and brings your food to your car. So she stuck Parker Decomposer in the back so that when he opened the trunk, the guy would see it. And he did kind of startle for a second. So but then he acted like he played it off like he didn't see it. And so Olivia said, "Please acknowledge that you saw the skeleton because my daughter wants you to be scared." And he was like, "Oh yeah, it did give me quite a fright." So.
That's a boy, Tim. You have raised your daughter correctly.
Yeah, so she's already in the spirit.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with this thing. I don't know exactly how it's going to feature in my Halloween display because I'm terrified of it getting stolen.
Yeah, so you might have to really put it in a glass thing.
I was thinking of getting even like a bike lock or somehow like chaining this thing. Like I do not want this thing taken. Like. I've got Halloween decorations that I'll leave outside all the time, but this is the one, like, this is my prized possession right now.
You actually make me think I want to go out and get my own, version of it to have it. I don't know what I'll do with it.
Like,
I can't
think I'm going to put it, I'm not going to put it in the attic. I'm probably going to keep it in my office all year round. It's cool just to have a full-size skeleton laying around.
You know, somewhere in my costume box from some old, student film we did, I have a Norman Bates mother wig. Somewhere I should put that on it and just stick it in stick it in a window.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And Julie, in the Civil Gore Studios, we do have a rocking chair.
Oh yeah.
I might have to go out to Lowe's. I pass by a Lowe's every day on the way home.
Go to Lowe's. They've also got this chintzy. They got a really cheesy glow in the dark version too, but don't get that one. Get the real.
No, there's only one skeleton good enough for Parker Decomposer. So.
All right, guys. Well, let's get to our interview with author Neil A. Cohen. This was a fantastic interview we recorded Monday night and learned all kinds of cool stuff, not only about his books, but about his experiences on the con circuit and his lessons learned from researching these entrepreneurs. Just a fascinating conversation about a wide variety of subjects. So let's get right to it.
Okay, so tonight we have a special guest on who we met at New Jersey HorrorCon early this year. He is the author of the EXIT ZERO Zombie Trilogy and has a new book coming out entitled Business is Dead, Resurrecting Entrepreneurship Through the Fan-Focused Venture. And he'd like to talk about it with us, so let's welcome onto the show Neil Cohen.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going, Neil? Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad I'm here.
Yes, it was great. It was great meeting you when we got to meet you at the New Jersey HorrorCon. It was kind of a serendipitous meeting because we were like on our way back in after bringing some stuff to the car, and you were on your way out, and then we kind of met right in front of the hotels. So it was
Yeah,
kind of cool because it's so many things there. You kind of sometimes miss booths and stuff. So I was kind of
well,
glad I got to see you there.
yeah, and you know what did it is marketing. And I'll tell you guys, in the new book, Business is Dead, Resurrecting Entrepreneurship, I talk about marketing and the importance of marketing, branding. I was walking out to my car. I wasn't actually leaving. I was just bringing some stuff out to the car because it was the last day of the con. I was just trying to get some stuff out of the booth, make some room. And I saw you two walking towards me, and you both had a Civil Gore t-shirt on, each of you. And had one of you been wearing it, I probably wouldn't even realized it. But both of you were wearing the same t-shirt. And it caught my eye, and I saw exactly what you did. You were podcasters. You obviously, with the Civil Gore, cool, name, but obviously, okay, horror focused. So the branding was right there, and it stopped me. And I grabbed you guys. I said, "Hey, are you guys podcasters? I'd like to do something about my book." But it was the only reason I really stopped is because you both were wearing the same t-shirt. So it shows the power of branding. Like some of that stuff you can't really quantify, especially when you're in sales or you're trying to start up a new business and you're like, well, I'm spending money on a logo, or I'm trying to get the word out there. Is it even working? Because it's not a one-to-one correlation. But it shows that you guys had it down right, and it caught my attention, and that's why we started talking.
Right. And when actually, the funny thing is, Tim and I always wear the same shirt, regardless of what it is. That was just a fluke that we happened to wear the Civil Gore shirt. No, just. But yeah, no, we were actually
did
got
you
a
notice
lot
I
of.
wanted to stress that you were individually wearing the shirt so that people
Yeah.
didn't think that you guys had some like that talking heads giant shirt that both of your heads were sticking out of it as you're walking down the parking lot.
Well, that was our next option if we weren't getting noticed enough, I think,
Yeah.
with the shirts. But yeah, no, we were glad. We got a lot of nice compliments on the shirts, actually, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's funny because again, branding. When I first came out with the first book, the Exit Zero Zombie Trilogy, I designed a really cool graphic, and it was basically a design of a nuclear cloud with the cone and the cloud going up, and in the cone, like the stalk of the nuclear plume, was the shape of New Jersey. And I just thought of it one day. I found an artist, designed it for me, and because the second book is Nuke Jersey. And so I had a t-shirt made up with that logo, and it says, "Welcome to Nuke Jersey." People loved it, friggin' loved it, loved it, loved it. So I sold it alongside the books. But the problem was, I wasn't really there to sell t-shirts. I was there to sell the books. And the t-shirts took up so much space in the damn booth, and they're so heavy because you're carrying 50 to 100 t-shirts, and you have no friggin' clue how heavy that gets. And I had to display it on the table, and it took up more space in the books, and I was realized that, man, this is great marketing, but I'm not hitting what I want to do, which is sell books. It was bringing awareness, but it wasn't that one-to-one like, oh man, I need people walking around in a t-shirt and they're going to look at that t-shirt and say, oh, that's a book. And so I ended up, after I sold off that run of t-shirts, I never printed again. I still have people coming up to me saying, oh man, you should do a t-shirt. So I'm looking, yeah, I'm like trying to think what to do next, because it's all about marketing to the horror community, and and the horror community is pretty jaded. You go to these horror cons, you see some real extreme stuff. So you want to cut through the clutter, through the white noise. You got to come up with something really cool, and but I'm like, well, I don't want to do the shirts again because it was just a pain in the ass to lug them around, too heavy, too space consuming. Stickers, they're a dime for 1,000. Everybody's got stickers, and most of them probably get chucked in the trash. Baseball caps are expensive. First of all, it's tough to see the logo, and second, they're way more expensive. So I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, I've looked at coffee mugs. The common thing when you're selling books is a bookmark.
Right.
But how many
Right.
friggin' people use a fucking bookmark, honestly? It's like you gotta fold the page over or something like that,
I've
So,
used receipts. I mean, I've used whatever I could get
oh,
my hands
use
on,
whatever
really.
use a sticky, use your business card, use a thumbtack or a toothpick or whatever, So, it's tough. When you mark like, so what do you guys do? You guys wear the shirts. Do you do any kind of marketing for the podcast?
I mean, mainly it's been, I mean, up to this point, it's primarily been social media. And we've
Yeah.
talked about, doing some merchandise because we've had listeners that really, really begged us to do shirts and coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff. So at some point, we probably will do that. And probably at some point when we decide to do a convention and get a booth and everything, we'll do something like that. But yeah, primarily just social media for now.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to look to. Our goal right now is to actually be at get a booth at the next March's New Jersey HorrorCon. So that
Well,
so
it's
we're
coming
hopefully
up in
by then.
October. Isn't it coming?
Well,
It's in
yeah. Unfortunately, we had Tim's brother's getting married in October, so we're kind
October.
of
What a dick.
He ruined everything.
I
He
know,
really did.
man. Way to piss on your parade there.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
well,
What's your
he's actually part
priority?
of the designer of the. Well, no, did he come up with the name of the logo? I can't remember.
Yeah,
He
my
came up with
brother he came up with the name. I came
That's
up
right,
with the
the name.
logo. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, I want a T-shirt. You got to get me a T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
we will get you a T-shirt. For
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I am still trying to work it out too because I have a scheduling conflict, and so I haven't booked my booth yet. I've been doing it for 5 years. 5 years in a
Wow.
row I've done the New Jersey HorrorCon, but unfortunately I got a work conflict because my Exit Zero Zombie trilogy just ain't paying the bills yet. So I do have to work, but I've got a bunch of other. Right now in September. I'm doing weekend, or what's it called, Living Dead Weekend up in Erie, Pennsylvania. Where they do the where they had the original Walking Dead. No, not. It was actually, what was it? Yeah,
Night of the Living Dead.
yes, it was Night of the Living Dead, but then the Dawn of the Dead. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
right,
yes,
right,
yes,
right.
yes.
Dawn of the
Okay.
Dead filmed there, right at and it's right next to where the mall is that they filmed. So I'm
Oh.
doing this big Living Dead weekend up there in September. Then October, I'm doing a Walker Stalker Con down in Atlanta. And then November, I'm up in Jersey for Sopranos Con, which isn't a horror con, but it's falls into the line with the new book, which is really pop culture focused. It's anything that is people launching businesses based on their love of a pop culture theme. And that could be Sopranos, it could be Game of Thrones, it could be Walking Dead, it could be whatever they want. And it's all about people that have said, you know what, I love this genre, I love this show, I want to be more than just a fan of the show. I want to start something, and whether it's bake cookies that look like characters in the show, or give tours of where they film the show, or be an artist, or whatever you want to do. Some of the people start charities under the theme of the show, and it's for people that are saying, I love this genre, whether it's a show or a genre. It could be horror, it could be comics, Marvel, whatever. And they say, I want to start a business, and I want to be around people that are also fans, and I want to talk about the show and my fandom, and I want to share it with people, and I want to do something with it. Now, you got to understand, with most of these people, I always say to them, and I say it in the beginning of the book, this is not for someone that says, I hate my job, I hate my life, I want to quit my job
Right.
and become a multimillionaire because of my love of The Walking Dead and start something. No, this has got to be something that you do just purely out of passion, and you just love it, and you love being around people, and you love talking about the topic. And if you make a couple of bucks, it's gravy. And I highlight 12 people in the book that had started different businesses. Some of them became millionaires, so it can happen. It's not, but I would never tell anyone you're gonna become a millionaire. You're gonna even make a living at it. My book is for, I call them fan-entrepreneurs. So they're not going out there saying, I want to start a Subway franchise so I can make a living. They're doing stuff on the weekends and the evenings just because they love it. If they find one other person in the world that has their aesthetic, that is as passionate as they are, that they make weird dolls, and they found one person in Bulgaria that loves the dolls and buys them, they should consider themselves a friggin' success. So that's kind of what the book's all about.
Yeah, no, that's great too, because I know, like Tim and I, like, it's the one of the most whenever I tell somebody that I do a horror podcast on the side, they're like, "Oh, so I mean that must make some money, right?" And I'm like, "No," I said,
No,
"We're just
we're
trying not to
hemorrhaging
lose money." Yeah, I was gonna say we're trying
We're
not to
bleeding money.
Yeah,
But
and I
that's
think it's like.
yeah,
But it's funny. I said we do it for the fun of it. You can't go into it with that. And we were lucky enough, I think, to start from a good place, because Tim and I met because of another podcast we both listened to called Coaster Radio, which was a theme park podcast. And after, I think, what was it, 9 years, they decided to have a fan meetup, and we met there, and we just started talking, and we found out that we both liked horror also. And then about a year later, Civil Gore was born. So it was kind of so we knew already. We're like, okay, this is not in it for the money. This is in it for the love of the topic.
Yeah, and I'm trying to still understand. Like, people have explained to me how to monetize a podcast, and even when they explain it to me, I don't understand it. And I can get, like, if you are, let's just say I'm a financial consultant, and I do podcasts about different ways to manage your money, and people like it, and then I start getting clients from it to manage their money. Yeah, I get that. That's okay. The podcast is like doing a commercial, and people listening, and if you're entertaining, and they say, "Wow, this guy's actually smart, and he's entertaining, and he knows how to manage money, and I bet he could make me some money." And you go to him, and you become a client. Yeah, I can see that. But other than that, I still haven't quite figured it out. Like, there's not really commercials.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so
some
primarily,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, some.
primarily, for example, the hosting service we are on, they do have an advertising level. So if you have X amount of listeners per month, or X amount of downloads per month, you can qualify, and they will partner you with advertisers so that you can do little commercials during your show and get some money for that. But you have to hit that level, and it's pretty significant number of downloads you have to have per month to even get to that level. So if you're starting out with a podcast, it may take you years to even come close to hitting where you can even qualify to do that kind of advertising.
See, and you guys get it. Like, when I wrote my first book, the first book came out of the trilogy was Exit Zero. And I wrote it just purely because I wanted to tell the story. I wrote that it was a short story, like longer than a typical short story, but like a novella, and I had some illustrations in there, and I sent it to a bunch of publishers, and they told me, no interest whatsoever. So I said, screw it, I'll do it myself. So I self-published, went out, hit the con circuit, marketed it myself through social media, and started selling it. And then I got picked up by a publisher who said, we generally don't pick up someone until they've written 3 or 4 books, but you know how to sell books. So they re-edited it, created a more professional look and feel, and made it. And I started writing the second, so I bundled the second book into the first and made it, a more fleshed out novel. And then it got re-released. And then I went out and sold the hell out of it, but nothing happened. There's a million friggin' books. So then I wrote the second, got it out there, started selling a little more, but still, then finished the third. That came out a year afterwards, and then finally now with my 4th book, it's starting to come out, and I've met and I'm starting to sell, bulk copies of the books. And I talk to so many people, and they're like, yeah, I've been writing a book for 5 years. I've been writing a book for 7 years, and I said, what the hell are you doing, man? You got to understand, I didn't start selling the first book until the 3rd book was out. So if it's taken you 7 years to write a book, it's going to take you 21 years before the first one, after you release it, even starts selling. I said, you just got to get out there. You know what? You're going to hate it. After it's released, you're going to figure out all the places you screwed up, all the things you should have done, all the things oh my God, I should have put this character, I should have had him say this or that, say that. It doesn't matter, man. You just got to get it out there, and it's never going to be perfect. You get it out there. Hopefully it'll resonate people, but get working on your second one. It doesn't have to be a trilogy. There's different series. If you get your audience, you get a theme. For me, it was a trilogy. I had the same core group of characters. First one, Exit Zero, was the first 48 hours of a zombie apocalypse as it begins in New Jersey, as you know it would.
Yeah,
This,
which I
this,
love, by the way. I
yeah.
love that slogan that you have
Yep.
for that.
And then the second book follows the same core characters, those that survived the first book, still in New Jersey, but at this point, New Jersey's been sealed off from the rest of the country. And now the whole country kind of knows what's happening, but the zombie outbreak is basically regulated to New Jersey. But the president is now in New Jersey. He's running the country out of Cape May, out of the Congress Hotel, kind of to just show the country, hey, we've got this under control. I'm here, and we're surviving. We're figuring out a problem, how to solve this problem. But the zombies, obviously, they're popping up around the country and people can't figure out why. And New Jersey's sealed off, but it's still spreading. And then the third book, it has already spread nationwide. Zombie Democracy is the third book. It's nationwide, but the government hasn't fallen. Society hasn't fallen. Life still goes on. There's just thousands and thousands of zombies around. Just one more thing that could kill you as you go to work, go out to eat, go on dates. You still got to go out. You still got to do stuff. But now you just got to take care because, there's zombies. And so you just change, the way, people adapt. You change your life a little bit. You change the technology. The bureaucracy steps in. And in the third book, it's time for the first presidential election post-zombie apocalypse. And each candidate has a different platform on how to deal with the zombie menace. And so that's kind of, but I keep it in New Jersey, even though now it's spread nationwide. I keep the story simple. All the characters are in New Jersey. The story takes place mostly in New Jersey, and they're trying to figure out, well, the zombie apocalypse came and went, and there's zombies everywhere, but you know what? Life goes on, and now we got to figure out how to live with zombies that could, and it's not like we're living with them like, oh, we're friends. No, they're still ravenous. There's still hordes of them. Like there's like weather alerts that kind of come out and tell you that a horde of like 7,000 zombies are moving in this direction. So they tell people, if you're in this area, go home from work, be prepared to be in your home for 3 days, just like a snowstorm, have enough food, medication, milk, toilet paper to survive. Don't try to clear your lawn of zombies. If they're getting overwhelming, you call the government, you text this number, they come and they try to clear them out. But basically, that happens, and they move on, and then you go back out, just like the snowstorm. But we adapt.
That's great, though, because you took basically you just put them in place of just all life struggles, which is great. That's like a unique take on that. That's really cool.
There's always something that can kill you. Every day you leave your house, drunk driver, cancer, something falling out of the sky. Listen, there's no zombie apocalypse right now. It doesn't mean you're going to get home alive at the end of the day.
Definitely not. I live on Long Island. I see the drivers. That's every day driving out of your just your driveway is a risk. I mean.
I remember the weirdest thing happened to me. I was working in New York City. I lived in New York City. I lived in Queens at the time, but I was working in Midtown Manhattan, and I was working for a radio station at the time. And I went out the same way I walk every freaking day to get my lunch. And I walked to this one deli. I get my lunch. I'm walking back. I get back to the thing. And, of course, I was in a radio station. It was all news. News break, this guy got hit in the head. I go, wait a second. It's right around the corner. I literally run out of the building. I run around the corner, and there's the guy dead. It was about 3 minutes. It was a 2x4 thing, fell out of a construction site right where I walked, took this guy out, killed him right there. I was like, holy crap, how random.
My God.
And this poor guy got killed, and it was it must have happened like right behind me, and I didn't hear it. But
wow.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
But that's kind of why I wanted in my book, I didn't want just society to fall, and then we're dealing with just rabid people and strong men, psychopathic strong men, and ninja sword wielding zombie killers. They're all regular people. Like in my book, I do have this guy who does try to become like Negan or the governor. and he thinks, okay, the zombie apocalypse is coming. This is my time. I'm gonna rise up and I'm gonna be the next Negan or the governor. And things don't go very well for him, and it doesn't last that long, But that's what happens when you he tried to be a strong man, and society hadn't fallen yet, so he didn't last that long.
But that would happen, though. That's the thing. That really would happen, because someone would take something they saw on TV and think they could mimic it, and it would end badly.
Yeah.
So, Neil, I did have a question. Speaking of that, there's so much zombie stuff out there, so many movies, so many books. How did you go about finding like original ideas for your zombie books?
It's very much like you guys. There's a lot of people out there with podcasts, and you got to differentiate yourself. So first, one, I work in the in the industry that's focused on chem, bio, rad, nuke. That is my industry. I do technology for counter, chem, bio, rad, nuke. I've been doing it for 20 years. So I've met thousands of soldiers and people at World Health Organization and HHS and CDC and Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and they love the topic of zombies. And I've always talked to them. I said, so tell me, how could this come about? Give me an example of the most realistic type virus that would emulate a zombie apocalypse. And so, and how would the government react? How would the military and law enforcement react in this? And basically it is, they've exercised it in a lot of different types when they do, emergency response exercise, because it's the ultimate black swan event. You've got mass pandemic, you've got first responders not showing up because they're either dead or so worried about their family that they're staying home to protect their family rather than go into the hospital, be a nurse, or go out and fight fires or be a policeman. You've got the military and how they would react, and I've incorporated all that into the book. So I've tried to make it very realistic. There's nothing supernatural in my books. I explain exactly how the virus was created, what it was meant to do, why it got out into the public, and it affects the people the way they do. Like mine, they basically absorb their body tissue, so they look skeletal. So they're not called zombies, they're called skells. And they have to eat. They're like drug addicts. They have to consume flesh, and they can't control themselves. There is no way to stop them, and they can't stop themselves. So I explain it all, like why they look the way they look, why they're doing what they're doing. And I wanted a realistic zombie story, but I still wanted to be fun and funny. That's why I put it in New Jersey. I got very New Jersey-centric characters. I wanted it like, more Shaun of the Dead than Dawn of the Dead. I didn't want a depressing story. I wanted it to be scary, but still, more realistic than... you look at the characters in The Walking Dead and you say, they're all so badass, I would be dead in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be, not all of us are, special ops trained killers. Normal people would be able to survive. And in my book, that's what it is. And I have a couple layers to it. Like in the book, you meet this core group of characters when they're graduating high school, and they're all very different. And then the book jumps 15 years future when the very beginning of the zombie apocalypse starts, and they've all gone their separate ways in life. They're all doing different things. They're different people now, but they're forced back together because the things that help them as a very different group survive high school is going to help them survive the zombie apocalypse. And then that same group, and then they start to question in the second book, like, they're all so different. How the hell did they actually become friends? Like, and then they start to realize that it wasn't accidental, that there was someone that identified them and kind of put them together for a reason. And then in the third book, you find out more about what the whole conspiracy was and what the purpose was, and what the people that set this in motion wanted to do.
That's really cool, because it seems like you have so many real world elements to this whole thing throughout, which is really cool. So it's like, I think I guess if you could relate to a zombie apocalypse, this sounds like the way to do it.
Yeah, like honestly, right now, and I hate to say it, but I can't relate to The Walking Dead anymore. it's too far in the future. They've got blacksmith internships and carriage rides, and I'm like, it's like Little House in the Prairie of zombies here. This is not what we relate to. I'm hoping to God this new series, which they're filming here. I'm in Northern Virginia, but they're filming down in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm hoping to God it kind of pulls it into a new direction. But I want to see people I can relate to dealing with the zombies. That's why I love the first 2 seasons. Were so great because the zombies were still fresh, and there were still pockets of society. It hadn't really fallen yet. And that's the best part. Like in the very beginning, when everybody knows, like, yeah, something's happening here. Stop with the zombies. It's not zombies. It's the flu, or it's something weird is happening, or there's mass hysteria. But people realize that there's something happening, but they're still not accepting of it. They're dealing with the other things in their life. They got to get the kids to soccer practice, and they got to get to work, and they're dealing with other things. And suddenly it just smacks them in the face like, holy crap, everything I'm dealing with, and now there's zombies.
That's great. Well, yeah, Neil, I got my wife to buy your book. When she found out I was interviewing an author, she immediately went to Amazon and bought the book. So she's about a third of the way through it. So she
is a wise woman.
So she's going to let me know how it is. I'm definitely going to take a look at it too when she's finished. So.
Thank you. I think you should buy a second copy so you each have your own.
I might do that.
So did you get all 3 or just the first one?
She just got the first one, but knowing her, I've never ever seen her leave a series unfinished. So you don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, if you're gonna get the books, the first book you got to get the paperback. Have to get the paperback because there are available in e-readers, but the first book. The publisher did a special with there's a short story that's only in the paperback that is relevant to and when I finished the first book, I did not have plans to write the other 2. I thought I was like, wow, I was lucky enough I got published. It was a fluke and everything. So then when I got picked up by the publisher, I said, look, I got this short story I've been working on. It runs peripheral to the story in the book, but not associated with it. Like it doesn't affect the core characters, even though the characters from the book pop up. And he's like, let's put it in there. And I want to keep it just as a short story. We'll do it just for the print book. So we'll see, and I was like, cool. Well, then the main character, that Pope Judas of Jersey, I call him. He is a blackjack dealer by the day. He hunts demons at night. And you're not quite sure if he's a good guy or bad guy because you're not quite sure if the demons he's hunting in Atlantic City at night are metaphorical demons, if they're in his mind, if he's really killing demons and has the ability to see demons, or if he's just a friggin' psycho and he's killing regular people at night. In his mind, he thinks they're demons, but he's really going out every night, killing innocent people, But because of his psychosis, and he is a schizophrenic, he is perfectly suited to survive when the zombie apocalypse comes. So anyway, I wrote that short story, and it came out in the first book. Well, then, when the second book came out, I said, well, I got some more for this guy. I want to put some more in there for him. So he kind of pops up as peripheral to the story, but not really touching the characters. And then when the third book came out, I put him again there, and he's constantly in the like he's like the Observers. Well, I forgot what that show was with remember the Observers, the ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fringe.
Fringe. Yeah. So he's kind of like that. He's in the background of all 3 books. But my goal is like to do a graphic novel just of that character.
That would be cool.
That's what I want to do. I consider him like a preacher-like character, but holy crap, creating a graphic novel is expensive.
Oh, I bet. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, yeah.
Especially if you can't draw.
I can't draw stick figures. So I'd have to hire an artist, and I priced it out. Forget it. So,
do we know anybody, Tim, we could help Neil out? Do we know anyone that'll do it for cheap?
I don't know anybody that can draw, unfortunately.
I've
Yeah.
met tons and tons and tons of and what I've learned in investigating this is there's illustrators and then there's sequential illustration, which is different than
Oh.
singular illustration. And then there's obviously artists and painters. So it turns out that, you have to have someone that is skilled at sequential illustration, which seems to be, I'm telling you, man, it must. It, everybody I know, it's several $100s a page. And if you're doing a
Oh.
graphic novel, you're talking 50, 60 pages minimum. So you're talking,
Wow.
yeah. So if you're talking $100 a page at the bare minimum, I'm talking that is the bare minimum. That's like going to Thailand and getting some guy
Oh
to do it.
God.
And people do that is $100 a page. You're still looking, it's at thousands of dollars. And remember, when you sell books, people bitch about like a $10 book.
Oh
So
yeah.
if it costs you $6,000 to produce the book, you know, it's not going to happen.
Oh my God. Well, I want to definitely want to find out about your newest book, this one, because this is what I think is what I mean, I want to read all three Exit Zeros, but this is one I'm really excited for because of basically obviously because of what Tim and I do. Like, give us a big overview again of this of your Business is Dead: Resurrecting Entrepreneurship to the Fan Focus Venture book.
Yeah, so I'm doing all these cons and I see the panel sessions and I go up to one of the cons that I'm a regular at and I said, you know what? I would like to do a panel session and I'd like to grab about 5 or 6 of the vendors that I've met and bring them on stage because their stories are all fascinating. When I first wrote the book, everybody was like, Neil, what the hell are you doing? You're a professional, you got a master's degree, you're in a professional setting, you're going to write a zombie book under your name. No one's going to take you seriously ever again, and people are going to run away from you and you're going to look like a fool. I said, you know what? Screw it. I want to do it. And, I just did it. And just the opposite. People loved it. And all these people came to me, and I'm talking senior government people and senior executives at major corporations. I said, oh man, Neil, I do paintings on the side. I draw comics. I write music. I'm writing books. I write James Bond style books. I do it in a different name. I've always wanted to do that. How did you do it? How did you do it? And then I'm at the cons, and all these people come up to the booth and say, how did you do that? I love cons. I'm so into this, but how did you get it on the other side of the table there where you're a vendor? And I'm a talkative guy, so when I'm at these cons, there's a lot of downtime before the thing opens and afterwards, and I talk to the vendors. Learned their stories. I said, this is fascinating. So the cons guys like, you know what? It's not what we do. We have celebrities, but let's try it out. So they promoted it. We promoted it. It was me and 6 other vendors and from different artists, philanthropists, sculptors, authors, and everybody told their story about how they got started. 400 people showed up to this session. They were saying,
Wow.
they're like, Neil, we don't even get that many for some of the A-level stars at the con. People obviously are interested in this. And I literally, that night, I wrote up the treatment. I sent it to my publisher. I said, I want to write a book about these people who were regular people, regular jobs, but just had this passion for either The Walking Dead or horror in general or something else, Batman, other superheroes, and they just create because of that passion, and they started business, and that he loved it. Wrote the book. I interviewed about 20 different people. I highlight 12 of them in the book. Now, fandom is really a huge topic, so you can't really boil the ocean of fandom. So I had to break it down to people that were fans of The Walking Dead. Now, that does not mean it's a Walking Dead book. I just needed to show a singular example of one show, one genre, and it inspired 12 different people in 12 different, very different business lines, tracks of entrepreneurship, fan entrepreneurship, and how they launched. What the lessons in there are for anyone in any fandom, whatever they're passionate about. They they don't have to be an artist. If they're saying, I can never write a book, I can't paint, I can't draw, I give examples of so many other ways, giving tours of where they shoot, doing podcasts, baking cookies that look like the characters and selling it, creating fandom themed groups online and then marketing it so you could put ads on there, whatever. But you have to be passionate about it, because if you're just doing it and you're saying, you know what, oh, I just want to be there and I want to make money, if you can't talk about the topic of The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones for 8 hours a day during the con, forget it. You'll go nuts. If you're not going to be a fan, don't do this, because you got to be a fan. You're going to be talking to other fans, and you got to say, at the end of the day, I had a great friggin' day, because all I did was talk about my favorite topic. Monday, I'm going to go back to work and I'm going to do what I do for a living. But this weekend, I did something, with a whole bunch of other people that share the same weird thing that I like.
Yeah, no, we totally get it. We like the glow from our, like, because that was the first con that Tim and I got to go to together. I've been to a ton different ones. Tim's been to a ton, but it was one that we finally got to go together since we've been doing the podcast. And it was like the glow from that, like, is still with us, because we had such a great time. We met so many great people. I mean,
yeah, you don't want to leave
just
it behind. You
right.
create, and you see it online. Like, people are talking weeks ahead of time about going to this con, whatever con it is, and they're so psyched, and they're online chatting, and then you're there, and you're surrounded by nerds just like yourself, people that are as weird as you are for 2-3 days. You're completely surrounded by it, and then you go back to your normal life. And some people leave the con and say, hey, that was fun. I'm going back to my normal life. I'll leave the con behind. And some people just say, I can't. I don't want to leave it behind. I want to do this. Now, doesn't mean, like I said, they're not going to quit the jobs, but a lot of people work during the day, and then they're doing this stuff at night. They're painting, they're sculpting, they're, doing their podcasts just like you and me right now after work.
Yeah, no, and it's like people think we just we do our recordings Monday night, right, and that's it. But there has to be the passion there, because throughout the week we're researching, we're trying to come up with ideas, we're innovating, trying to see what works for the show, what doesn't work for the show, what do we want the show to become. And from the beginning, I think you had mentioned before about something about when you were going to write the book, just go write it, and it's going to be, you're going to learn. Oh, I wish I did this. I wish I did it. Tim and I still are afraid to go back and listen to our first episode, but we wanted it just to get it out there. We're like, we don't want to wait anymore. Let's do this. We want to do it now. And from the beginning of the show to what the show is now, it's like, it's night and day. And, we thought if we got, like our original show, it was just going to be, we were going to take 100, we're going to take a list of one of those 100 best horror movies and go through them, and that's what we were going to do. But as soon as we started doing it, we just realized we don't want it to have a beginning and an end. We want to just keep doing it. And we've evolved the show, and we never thought we thought if we had a guest on other than someone like in our families, it would be a win. And now we're getting authors on like yourself, and we creators of stuff and celebrities. I mean, it's
yes,
like,
I am quite the get.
No, it's true. I was just saying that to him. I said, this, I can't believe this is our first actual author we have on the show, which is good, because I have to admit, I'm not the biggest reader, but Tim, I know, is a major reader.
Yes.
So
and it's tough. Listen, life is so busy now. I've got a stack of books that I want to get to. I'm probably one of the few guys that's written more books than he's read. But it's just tough, and like, I got 2 kids, full-time job, wife, you're always running and you're always late for something. So, and a lot of people look, and I write about this in the book too, they look at my Facebook or my Instagram, and I post all the pictures of the cosplayers that I meet and posing with the book, and the pictures of things, because I'm promoting a book and promoting my appearance. And they think that, oh, well, you're all running around having fun every weekend. No, it's work. I'm not there to have fun. Now I do, but when I'm there, I'm working. I don't bring my kids to the con because I'm not there. Like, for instance, New York City Comic Con, I have a professional pass because I'm in the industry, and so I'm going up there. I'll be there Thursday working, and then I'm there Sunday with the wife and kids, and then I'm civilian and I'm there just to have fun. And sure, I'll probably be wearing my business is dead shirt and I'll still be handing out cards, but I'm there really because I do enjoy it. But the other times I'm there to work. You got to have the professional. Like I'll tell a story. Michael Rooker, you guys know Michael Rooker Merle,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So Michael Rooker is one of the few Walking Dead cast that has actually come by my booth. Comes by the vendor, just loves it. You can tell he friggin' loves it. When he is on stage during a panel session, the audience just is rocking, and you can tell there's celebs at these different cons that come and they don't want to be there, and it's especially the grumpy and it's a long day and fans are talking to them about stuff that they don't know anything about because they're an actor and they're not the character and the fans don't seem to realize that. But Michael Rooker just is on. So one time he was there and he's just and they went out for lunch, a bunch of some of the actors, and one guy got drunk as a skunk, and he's sitting there at a signing and the guy is starting to pass out, and Michael Rooker's just a madman. And so Michael Rooker catches a glimpse of this, walks over, snaps this guy too, and was like, and like a totally like a flip to switch, he was like, get it together, we're here at work, these are the fans, they paid a lot of money, you better. And this guy snapped too, and then he went back to being the crazy Michael Rooker. But you saw that, okay, he's wild and crazy fun guy, but he takes it seriously. And when he looked over and saw that other actor and starting to pass out, he was pissed, and he snapped that guy too, lickety split, because that is his job. His job is to be the wild, crazy, fun guy at the con and make sure everybody's having a good time for the time that he's there. Not to be just because you're sitting there, physically there, signing, you're not present, and these
Right.
people paid a ton of goddamn money for a picture with you and your signature, at least be present.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I noticed at New Jersey Horror Con. All the guests there seemed to want to be there, and they just had they had a ball interacting with everyone. And either from every vendor we talked to or every person we met to, it was like the energy that and I've been to all types of different cons, and this one was one of the best I've ever been to because of that. And and it shows, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and you got to do it because I tell people, when you're working a con, if you have fun at cons, working a con is not the same as attending a con. It is a long day. We get there early before everybody else. We set up the booth. We're there in the booth, especially if you're an author like me, you're alone. I don't take my kids and wife to the cons because they would have fun for about 2 hours, 3 hours, and then they're bored. And I'm like, hey, kids, guess what? We got 5 more hours of this. 5 more hours. So that's after I took them to a couple cons at the beginning, they're like, oh, okay, we see this is not, you're not here having a ton of fun. We went around, we saw the con, and now we came back to the booth and we're done. And I'm like, well, we're not going home, guys. Guess what?
Yeah.
The con doesn't close till 7:00 tonight, and it's only 3. And so we're sitting here, and keep a smile on your face, but don't distract me because I'm here to work the booth. I'm here to meet people. I'm here to talk about my books. I'm not here to babysit. We can come back to a con when I'm not working, like I'm doing in New York City Comic Con. But when you're there, you got to keep that energy up. You got to work. If you're, luckily the other vendors are pretty cool. You got to take bathroom breaks, find someone to watch it for you. You eat at the booth generally, and you're sitting there the whole day, 7, 8 hours. And that's it, man. You better be wanting to do it, because if not, it's going to suck. Sitting anywhere for 8 hours sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm kind of I'm like nervous but excited if Tim and I get to do this, what we want at the next New Jersey Horror Con, and actually get a booth there, because it's going to be different, because we're used to being the other side of the table, and then now having to be kind of we're thinking of hopefully bringing the wives long so that we could take a break and kind of walk around and see the con. But
Yeah, but
you
you
know,
got to make sure you prep them because I have had that happen, and I do write about this in the book too. Like for people that are launching their entrepreneurship, if their spouse isn't on board, that's a problem. Like for me, when I'm writing, it's a solitary, and I'm not a solitary guy, I'm a social guy. But writing, especially when you get to the end and you say, okay, I got everything now. Now I got to assemble this. That's like 2 weeks of just pure isolation, reading through it. And that's like, I'm home, but I'm not here, guys. Don't ask me about stuff. Don't ask me to do stuff. Don't say, oh, if you're going to be home all day, could you? No, because I'm not. I'm sitting here all day. I'm working. I'm writing. And if I'm not doing anything, I'm thinking, but that's it. And if your spouse isn't on board, then, oh, well, you're just going to be sitting in there all day, surfing the web and not realizing, or you're just painting all day. It's not. They better be on board with it. And I've seen people bring their families to cons, work in a booth, and the kids get bored. And, at worst, their annoyance, or at bad, their annoyance. At worst, they're deal killers because they're just so annoying and so irritable. And the guy's trying to talk to people, and the kids are a pain in the ass. So you always got to make sure the spouse is on board when you do this kind of stuff. But I would say, podcasting at a con is hand in hand. First of all, you've got the celebrities right there. You've got crazy attendees. You've got attendees who have maybe spent weeks putting their costumes together and have wild stories to tell. You have other vendors there. So you could film or audio tape or whatever, a month's worth of podcasts at one day.
That's what I'm hoping for. Then we could take a break. And then
Well, yeah, but you should. But and I see them doing it all the time. But again, it's and if you get the spouses on board, you have the wives walking around finding interesting people, bringing them over while you guys are on the air. That's working as a team. That's something you're doing together. And even if your kids are old enough, you have them doing it. And then it's really a family project because they're enjoying it. You're enjoying it. Right now my kids are finally getting old enough that they're actually trying to be illustrators, and their artwork is getting very good.
Oh, awesome.
But they're 11 and 16, so they're still young. But that's what they want to do. And soon I hope we're going to be collaborating on stuff, and they're going to be able to draw the stuff for me.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, thank God our wives are saints. They let us do our podcast. They let us go to these things. They let us buy crazy merchandise. I mean, so we lucked out on that front for sure.
Yeah, because happy wife, happy life. Let me tell you.
That's true.
So I guess here's the fun part for you now, I guess, unless you've been having fun the whole time, and then this is just more fun. But so why don't you let everybody know where they can find all your books and stuff and where they can find you, basically?
Absolutely. So Exit Zero Zombie is at EXITZeroZombie.com. So spelled out EXITZeroZombie.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EXITZeroZombie. Gmail is EXITZeroZombie@gmail.com, and Facebook is Exit Zero Zombie. I cornered the market on Exit Zero Zombie spelled out. The new book, businessisdead.com. So just go to businessisdead.com, and on Facebook, Business is Dead. But it's easier to find it on the website, and you can pre-order the book. It's actually not out till October 1st, and it'll be in Barnes & Noble nationwide October 1st, but you can pre-order it now from Barnes & Noble and Amazon, both linked at businessisdead.com spelled out.
Oh, great. And you can get the Exit Zeros on Amazon too, right?
And Exit Zero, Nuke Jersey, and Zombie Democracy are all on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But Amazon, you just look me up, Neil A. Cohen. There's actually I think there's 3 authors named Neil Cohen. But so that's why I kept the middle initial A, Neil, what a guy, Cohen. No, Neil So I kept the middle initial. There's actually another Exit Zero, but that Exit Zero is all about the Industrial Revolution of Chicago. So I'm sure it's probably a great book, but it doesn't have any zombies in it.
Yeah, I don't know if that would appeal to our listeners on
Yeah,
in this case.
it's more definitely more dry than mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Exit Zero, Nuke Jersey, Zombie Democracy, all you can buy them all now. They're fast, fun, easy to read. I try to make them so that they're quick. Just tell the story, and then Business is Dead, and then I'll be at the Living Dead weekend in Pennsylvania in September. Then I'll be at Walker Stalker Con Atlanta in October. I'll be at Sopranos Con up in New Jersey in November. And then in January, I'm at Mars Con, which is down in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's a sci-fi author con. And then probably things popping up, but I'll have it all on my go to my Facebook and website.
Awesome. And we'll post all that information too in our show notes. And eventually, when our site gets up, we'll make sure we have the links to all this stuff as well.
Thank you much.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Neil. I mean, it was a really fascinating discussion on all different kinds of things. I mean, I learned stuff about cons. I learned stuff about zombies I didn't know. I learned stuff about entrepreneurship I didn't know. So
See,
yeah,
and
really,
all from a strange guy approaching you in the parking lot of Atlantic City.
I actually told you did make quite an impression on me because I told Brian, and Brian, you probably remember this after we talked to you. I said, you know what? I really admire that guy hustling because he just approaches in a parking lot. You know, you could have just passed us right on by. But I was like, when I saw you selling your books, I thought, I like that. I like that you were, just even people going by in the parking lot you were grabbing. I really thought it was cool.
You've always got to be selling. ABC. Always be close.
All right, that's great. Neil, best of luck with the new book. I'm definitely going to order a copy. I'm sure Brian is too.
Yes, I'm pre-ordering as we speak, and also the other zombie ones on Amazon. So
thank you much.
All right, Neil, take care, and we will hopefully talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, Brian, I thought that was an absolutely fantastic interview. I really appreciate Neil coming on, and
my God,
it was a really, really good time.
Yeah, I had a ball. I didn't want it to end. I knew we it had to end at some point because the guy's busy. We didn't want to keep him for for the whole night. But I'll tell you, it was such a fun interview because we were just learning a ton of stuff. I mean, granted, I know Tim, especially for you, I know I'm a self-proclaimed non-reader. I don't read a lot, but but you, who was a big avid reader, must have gotten a real kick out of just hearing some of the stuff he was talking about.
Yeah, and I really wanted to. We never even got a chance for me to really ask him about the writing process because I write a little bit on the side as well, and that never really came up. If he ever comes back on the show, I definitely would like to pick his brain about the writing process and how he went about it because that would be really interesting. Because I've always thought about I'm not motivated enough to write a full novel, but I do like to write short stories, and I would love to learn kind of the some of the pitfalls and stuff in doing that.
I think you need to start writing the Parker Decomposer E diaries, diaries of a pet skeleton or something.
A pet skeleton. All right, maybe we'll do that. Maybe that'll be a fun bonus.
Yeah,
we can give the listeners the Parker Decomposer stories.
Well, maybe once the website is up, she could have his own column.
That's right. We could do that.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. This is our dismemberment for September 3rd.
Wait, no, please, God. No, God,
All right, a couple of quick reissues, Brian. Of course, It Part 2 coming out. We had to reissue the old It's. So
yes,
the It from 1990 is coming back out, and the 2017 It is coming back out in a 4K version. I don't know if these add anything different or if it's just a reissue timed to come out with the movie.
I'm sure it's
probably nothing different than what you've already got. So we'll move on from there. The first title up on our list is Ma from 2019. This is one I really wanted to see because I really like Octavia Spencer. But the release company is Universal Studios. It was directed by Tate Taylor, and of course stars Octavia Spencer, Diana Silvers, and Juliette Lewis. A lonely woman befriends a group of teenagers and decides to let them party at her house. Whose
house? Ma's house. Whose house?
Just when the kids think their luck couldn't get any better, things start happening that make them question the intention of their host. And this one has an alternate ending, deleted scenes, creating Sue Ann, Party at Ma's and theatrical trailer. So
I actually have this one on order. Actually, 2 of the movies this week I already have arriving next week.
Oh,
Amazon.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want
I'm
to see
ahead of
that
the
one.
game.
And
Yeah.
I've successfully avoided spoilers for that one too somehow. So
Yeah, same here. I know Julie really wanted to see it, and we just never got around to it because we kept seeing the trailer in front of a bunch of stuff. Because it was one of those ones that seemed to be like the trailers came out well before the movie, and you saw it a lot. So I'm kind of glad that it's finally out, so we can watch it.
Yeah. The next one up, I'm really excited about. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark from 1988, released by RLJ Entertainment, directed by James Signorelli. Starring, of course, Elvira herself, Cassandra Peterson, Phil Rubenstein, and Larry Flash Jenkins. Upon arriving in a small town where she has inherited a rundown mansion, a famous horror hostess battles an evil uncle and townspeople who want her burned at the stake. And Brian, not only this movie reminded me, but there was a Elvira video game, PC game, way back in the day. Do you remember,
I remember
that?
Yeah. I don't remember much about it. I just remember seeing it.
I don't remember much about it because it was so freaking hard. I don't think I got past the first couple rooms of the mansion. I think I gave up on it at some point, but I actually have really fond memories of it regardless. But yeah, I definitely would like to pick this disc up and watch this again. It's been
and
a
it's
long
funny
time.
because that must have been why it's been popped up that like she's been trying to get a sequel made, and it's just not. It's being tough, I guess. She's having trouble getting it made.
Yeah, which is really
So.
too bad because I think she's still as popular as ever, and she hasn't
my
really
God,
done
she's-
anything.
Plus, she's a legend.
She
She's
does,
known,
she does the
you know?
convention circuit, but she hasn't done like anything like mainstream, like movies and shows and stuff. But
Yeah.
like people still absolutely love her. Like, why wouldn't you bring that back? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, same with Joe Bob. He came back, you know,
Yeah.
and,
And
he's better than ever.
The Elvira comic book series I was talking about, it's fantastic. I loved it. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. Maybe there's still hope. There's nothing's ever dead these days, Brian. You
Oh,
know.
my God.
I mean,
Yeah.
everything comes eventually. Somebody will pick it up. So
Yeah, there's too many streaming services, too many cable networks that take shows. I mean, there's like about 70 different options
yeah.
to get this made. So I definitely do not see this as dead in the water by any means.
Next up, Nightmare Cinema from 2018, released by Cinedigm, directed by Alejandro Bruges. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, sorry. Joe Dante, the great Mick Garris, being Mick Garris. right?
Yes, he's being Mick Garris.
Ryue Kitamura and David Slade, starring Mickey Rourke, Richard Chamberlain, and Adam Godley. 5 strangers converge at a haunted movie theater owned by the Projectionists, played by Mickey Rourke. Once inside, the audience members witness a series of screenings that shows them their deepest fears and darkest secrets over 5 tales. I'm really looking forward to this because I still listen to the Mick Garris podcast every week, and he's such a great interviewer, and I really want to see this because he talks about Nightmare Cinema quite a bit on his show.
Yeah, this is another one that I have arriving next Tuesday, so I ordered it. It's only like $12 on Amazon.
Oh, I have to
To
grab
me,
that
that's
then.
like a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm like, $12 for that?
That's like one-click purchase right there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Once I saw that at the price, I'm like, oh, my God, that's what it is? Oh, God,
Yeah.
bye. Right away.
This next one up, Brian, I have heard about, and I really want to see. I don't know why they added this subtitle because I heard about it originally as just The Wind.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say, I don't remember it having that.
It may just be the cover, or the site that I got it from, but they added the subtitle Demons of the Prairie, The Wind, Demons of the Prairie.
Yeah.
You will probably know it better as The Wind. It's from last year, 2018, released by Shout Factory, directed by Emma Tammy, starring Caitlin Gerard, Julia Goldani Tellis, and Ashley Zuckerman. A plainswoman faces the harshness and isolation of the untamed land in the western frontier of the late 1800s. And I first heard about this on the Film Threat podcast, and he interviewed the director, Emma Tammy, and it sounded just phenomenal because it mixes horror and western, which are 2 of my favorite genres of all time. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one. Next up, Darlin' from 2019. This is released by MPI Media Group. And by the way, guys, there's just like no special featers this week. It just happened to be one of those weeks where...
Yeah, Ma had a couple, but we didn't.
Yeah, other
pretty
than
much the
Ma, like
standard
everything
ones.
else was just kind of standard. MPI Media Group, directed by Pollyanna McIntosh.
Of course it is. Darlin' by Pollyanna. Yeah, it just sounds
that
so
fits.
right.
Starring Cooper Andrews, Christina Arntz, and Mackenzie Bateman. And the synopsis is literally a direct sequel to 2011's The Woman.
My God, that's like those terrible things when it's like where it'll give a thing and it says like you ask for definition, it says like i.e. see this, and you got to go to that, and then or like those crossword puzzles where it's like see 42 down.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't know.
I didn't get 42 down yet. What am I?
This one I don't know. I don't know anything about the woman from 2011. I looked it up. It looked like some kind of maybe cultish type thing going on. So yeah, sorry guys, I don't know much about Darlin.
And I love how it's a direct sequel. So, like, if you didn't get enough of the woman, hey, we
from
got
8
your
years
answer.
ago.
Yeah.
And Brian, the next one's going to be your guess.
Oh boy.
This one's called The Night Sitter from 2018. It's released by Uncorked.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the lollipop.
Yeah, you got to do that like sound.
Uncorked Entertainment, directed by Abiel Brune, John Rocco, starring Elise Dufour, Jack Champion, and Jermaine Rivers. Brian, what is The Night Sitter about?
Okay, so it can't be that obvious. Obviously, like it's a babysitter kind of a thing. It just wouldn't work.
I don't know.
No, you're just saying that. I don't know. Oh wait, no, a night. So okay, night sitter. Damn it! It's like so vague but so detailed at the same time.
That's why I picked it for your guess.
I know. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna totally go out on the limb here because I'm gonna say it's gonna be about an old like caretaker to a cemetery, and he's out there one night and some weird stuff starts to happen, and I guess he's just he's not ready for it, but he befriends some woman named whoever Elise Dufour plays, and then they have an adventure together in the cemetery.
Wrong. Okay, so you were closer with the babysitter thing, actually.
Damn it! Why it was too obvious?
Well, it's not very obvious when you hear the whole synopsis. A con artist poses as a babysitter to steal from a wealthy occult enthusiast. One of the kids she's sitting unwittingly summons a trio of witches known as the Three Mothers. I actually want to see this.
Yeah,
actually,
it sounds kind of
interesting.
I was gonna say it sounds kind of cool.
So yeah, The Night Sitter, and then we do have a theatrical release this week, Brian. We have Don't Let Go, directed by Jacob Estes, starring Byron Mann, Storm Reed, and McKelty Williamson. After a man's family dies in what appears to be a murder, he gets a phone call from one of the dead, his niece. He's not sure if she's a ghost or if he's going mad, but as it turns out, he's not. Spoiler alert, I guess, in the synopsis, but yeah, I don't know. Don't Let Go. I think Kim and Kit did a Morbid Mini Monday trailer.
Oh, they
on
did.
this.
They did. Yes.
So yeah, not one I'm going to rush out to see in the theater. I don't think with it.
No, but Michael T. Williams is in it. That's good.
Yeah.
I like him.
So yeah, I probably butchered his name, by the way, but oh well.
What'd you say? Oh, did you say McKelty?
I said McKelty. I have no idea.
Well, it might be. I don't know. I've heard him say Michael T., but I don't know.
That sounds better, actually, but I don't know. I haven't heard his name pronounced before. So let's get to our main feature. We picked one this week, guys, because Shudder has been so gracious to send us screeners on occasion, and very grateful for that because I think everyone we've watched has been phenomenal.
Oh my God, we haven't got a bad one yet.
No, that they've sent us. I mean, and these Shudder original branded movies, I think you can always count on. I have not seen a bad one yet. So this is
they must have a really great curator who picks these.
Exactly. Now this is this film, of course, is Belzebuth from. It's actually was filmed in 2017. It's a Mexican film. Shudder acquired it, put their Shudder original brand on it, which is fantastic to get a movie like this into the American audiences is great because otherwise I would have never seen this film. No, there's no way.
I mean, of course it does have Tobin Bell in it, which may have brought some attention to it in the horror circuits. But you're right. I don't think by the title alone.
I had never heard of it.
Yeah, right. It wasn't even on my radar.
Right. So this is directed by Emilio Portes. Sorry if I butcher these names. I'm trying. Tobin Bell, Joaquin Casillo. I did look up his name, Joaquin Casillo, because I really like him. Tate Ellington, Giovanna Zacharias, Ada Lopez, and Yunwen Pardo.
Yeah,
Yunwen?
I think so. Yunuen? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Tobin Bell plays Vasilo Canetti, Joaquin plays Emmanuel Ritter, who's the star.
Oh my God, is he fantastic?
Yeah, Tate Ellington plays Ivan Franco. Giovanna plays Leonor. Ida Lopez plays Elena, and Yunwen Pardo plays Beatriz. After losing his family in an extremely tragic way, Detective Ritter must investigate a massacre at a school perpetrated by a student. What seemed like a pretty clear case becomes much more dense when a priest of the Vatican appears with another point of view. So, Brian, I went into this movie really knowing nothing about it. I had not even read about it.
Right.
And
all I knew is that Tobin Bell was in it.
I didn't even know Tobin Bell was in it. For
Oh, really? That's about the only thing I knew.
I didn't even look at it on IMDb. Beelzebub, I assumed it probably had to do with the devil. Okay. I went into this completely cold. Now, it is a Mexican language film, although there's English. There's a little bit of back and forth there. It's primarily...
Yeah, that was kind of a little, like, surprising. Like, I thought, oh, did we get, like, a weird version of this where, like, they edited it, like, the translated version to the subtitle version? But it's interesting. It's when they speak Spanish, they will have the subtitles. But when the characters that are English, they'll just talk English, and that's it. And even the main character who speaks generally Spanish in it, when he changes to English, he stays in English, and there's no subtitles again.
Yeah,
so
it's very bilingual movie. It's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll jump back and forth. But this one. Now, I guess we'll set the disclaimer, Brian. I don't want to give any spoilers for this movie because it's coming out on Shudder. When we release, I think it'll be out on Shudder for you guys to see.
Yes, it releases. When you're hearing this episode releases on the 30th. It comes out the day before this on the 29th. So we had to kind of had in a weird spot because it was too early based on Shudder's request. It was too early to do any reviews on it. For last week's show, and based our show was on Friday, this was the closest we could release it. So, but then again, it's like it releases Thursday night, and you get this Friday morning. Pretty much, most people end up watching these movies usually on the weekends anyway. Right. So we figured it would work out.
Yeah, and so you guys should definitely go check this one out. So we're not going to give any spoilers in our review of it here and our discussion of it. And because of that, it's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter discussion just because we can't go into a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff about this movie I can't give away because I want you to see it for yourself. Because
I mean, there's some shocking scenes. From the beginning. And it's actually like, it's very, some of them will hit close to home based on what's going on in the world today, just in general. But as the summary says, when the priest of the Vatican appears with another point of view, it kind of changes it a little bit. So that's about all I'll say on that. I know people are like, well, why are you reviewing this? You're not saying anything about it. But it's hard because and that's what I will admit. So I watched this twice. The first time I watched it, I should not have started it when I did. I was extremely exhausted. I was not feeling good, and I was really tired. So and it does get pretty heavy at times to where you really need to pay attention to what's going on because you'll miss some lines and stuff, and you may miss a couple of things. So so I rewatched it and it blew me away. Actually, I'm like, oh my God, boy, did I really must have been tired because I didn't catch all this. So I'm basically throwing away that whole first time I watched it because watching it the second time is as if I hadn't watched it the first time at all. That's how good it was.
Yeah, it was one of those rare occasions where Brian and I both watched a movie, and we tend to be very similar, as you guys know, in our taste. It's very rare that we completely disagree. And usually when we do disagree, it's kind of just a mild, we'll swap 3 for 4 or that kind of thing. But I just was blown away by this movie. I thought it was really fantastic. So then Brian comes back and was like, did you think, I wasn't crazy about this. And I was like, I'm just really surprised he didn't like this. And then he told me about being tired and all that. I was like, why don't you rewatch, at least rewatch the second half again? Because there's some really cool stuff going on here. And I'm glad
I
you
rewatched the
changed your
whole
mind.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was like I said, like that first time was just, you ever just do that sometimes? You start a movie because you want to watch it, but you're just not in the right frame of mind. That was what I did. I made a big mistake of trying to watch it when I was really just not feeling good. And I might have even dozed off, but not because of the movie, just because in general, I was just fighting, my sinuses were killing me. It was terrible. So basically I literally scrapped that first time I watched it and rewatched it again fresh. And it was like I hadn't seen it. That's how out of it I was that first day I watched it. So yeah, so basically my full review on this is one of the highest recommends, actually.
Yeah.
It's like amazing that it was this, like, I really must not have missed something in the first time I saw it, because I love this movie.
It's sort of a possession film, but it's sort of an Antichrist type film. You know the whole genre.
Right.
And I will have to say, I've seen so many of these movies that I really expected this to be another by-the-numbers possession film or another by-the-numbers Antichrist film. And there were some things they brought to the table that were just so unique, and some sequences that were just so cool. They're just flat out cool.
Yeah.
That it elevated it beyond all of those. And the thing I really enjoyed the most about the movie is that they really took what I thought was a very realistic approach to what would happen in real life if, let's say, the devil was coming back to Earth.
Right.
Like, what would really happen? And, in my mind, if the devil was coming back to Earth, in the movies, it's typically you got girls levitating off beds, and you got all this supernatural mumbo jumbo. But in real life, if real evil was coming back, don't you think you would see stuff that we see in the news every day now that happens with mass shootings and serial killers and war and all this kind of stuff, all this horrible stuff you see on the news every night? That's the devil's playground. That's what you would probably really see, because that's where real evil lies, and that's the real evil we're accustomed to. And that this movie kind of takes that approach to the whole demonic possession, devil, antichrist type genre. And I thought that was very effective, because it was very unnerving, and that's why we said there's so many scenes in here that are shocking, because they hit so close to home as what could really happen in real life.
Yeah, I mean, and it even incorporated like real history. They kind of threw in there a little bit at parts, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
So,
and Joaquin Casillo, who plays Emmanuel Ritter, the main hero of the movie, he was instantly recognizable to me because he was on The Strain, that TV series based off the books by Guillermo del Toro.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember his character on The Strain. I'll look it up here real quick. He was... he played a really good role, though. I recognize him immediately.
Well, he was great in this. I mean...
Yeah, I don't see it coming up here on the first thing, so I won't waste your time. But if you catch him in The Strain, he's just that good an actor that he does make an impression. Oh, here he goes. He plays Angel in The Strain. But... yeah, he was fantastic. So when I saw him on screen and I saw that he was going to be like a lead, I was really, because in American movies he kind of plays kind of a side character typically.
Right,
he's a Mexican actor, but in this where he gets to really play a lead in his native language and everything, that was super cool to see.
Yeah, he was, and that's the one thing I will say in this: the performances in this and the cinematography will blow you away, I think. And there was, I mean, just even that little kid was incredible.
Yes,
the main kid in this.
Yeah,
I mean, he's how little was he? And he was acting like he was like he had been acting for years. I mean,
yeah, there's some really good performances, and like I said, there's some really cool sequences we can't give away. But
yes, I don't want to give it away.
But you're going to know them when you see them, and I think as horror fans, you're going to really, really love them. So, I would definitely recommend this one. I don't know how much we can really talk more about it, unfortunately, because I want you guys to see it for yourself. And maybe,
just because, I mean, they're images that, like, I remember while I was watching it, I guess this is a way I can give this out without spoiling anything. While I was watching, there are moments where literally, like, I could feel my jaw drop, like wow, like, it's like there are scenes like that in it, and there are scenes that are super creepy, and like Tim said, and the fact that some things like feel like, wow, I think that's really what would happen, because we've seen this happen in real life, so you can almost relate it. Is that, in a weird way, you can relate to what's going on in this, even though they kind of put what behind it, what's behind it. But yeah, I mean, that was a good mention that you said, though, that like what it would be like if really like evil came back to Earth,
Yeah,
like
I don't want to put it on the same level because it's a different type of movie, but the most recent film I can think of where I kind of had those same jaw-dropping moments where I was like, oh, like this is really cool, this is really different, this is really unique, was the movie Terrified from 2017. Not to be confused with...
I still gotta see that.
Yeah, not to be confused with Terrifier. This is Terrified. It's actually an Argentinian film, and it was the same. It's more of a ghost story, but it did have some of those moments that I was like, oh my god, this is just jaw-droppingly creepy and cool, and I've never seen this before. And that's some of the sequences in this movie were kind of in that same vein, and they kind of went to places. I think, Brian, you'll probably know what I'm talking about when I say this. I think they went to places in this movie that an American film typically would not go.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. And I know kind of exactly one, possibly two scenes right off the top of my head.
Right. Yeah.
Come to mind with that. So yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I know what I said originally when I first saw it, and I like regret watching it and under the bad circumstances, because I almost cheated myself to missing such a great film. So I mean, but I think Tim and I both can say it's like one of the an absolute must recommend when this comes out on Shudder.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of trivia here. Luis Carlos Fuentes, the script author, had also published 2 collections of short stories that are also based on dark humor and scary topics. So he already had some horror credit when he wrote this script, which is definitely evident when you see the script, because it's very scary. And I was well, I can't give away the ending again, but I was.
Yes,
all I will say is, Brian, I was very intrigued by the ending of this movie and where it could possibly lead to maybe a sequel down the road or something.
Oh yeah. Well, if you notice, I mean, I know this is the people listening will be like, oh come on, but if you look at what my last thing said with the question mark down on my discussion points,
yeah.
I got that. Did you get that vibe?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, so sorry. We'll explain it later. Well, maybe as a fairness, we should revisit this in about a month,
right?
Just to get to see how people thought of it, what people thought of it. And definitely, you know what? I guess in the meantime, when you do see this, then if you want to discuss it, just obviously we're more than willing to have conversations, through social media and email and whatnot. And
yeah.
And actually, yes, and we just we received an email from David. We got a return. So David, sorry, we've been so crazy this week, but we did get your email and we're going to reply.
Yeah, we always enjoy David's emails. I really look forward to this. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and any guys want to email us at civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. We usually respond like that day, typically.
Yes. I try and get that 100% response rating on social media.
And I love the back and forth. I love talking to you guys. So definitely, anytime you want to email, do not hesitate to email us. And so, Brian, I guess, I mean, I hate to just be so short and abrupt with a movie, which is our main feature. But then again, we did have the pretty long interview in this episode. So we are still giving you a fully jam-packed episode, probably one of our longer ones. But is there anything else you wanted to say about it?
But I think people will be glad when they watch it that we didn't spoil anything.
Yeah. And like I said, we didn't want to push this out because Shudder was kind enough to send us the screener, and they were expecting reviews to drum up support for the movie on social media and that kind of thing. So we didn't want to not do the movie and give people time to watch it, because that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of Shudder allowing us to promote it. So that's why we kind of give you kind of an overview, but again, didn't want to spoil it because it really is a fantastic movie, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah. No, so thanks again to Shudder and Sean for sending us the screener of that. We really like that. We can't even tell you how much we appreciate it, because first of all, we haven't got a bad one yet.
No.
I mean, think about it, Detective Incident in a Ghost Land.
Yeah.
And BELZEBUTH, I mean, that's 3 for 3 on awesome stuff that Shudder sent us.
Yeah, and hopefully more surprises down the road, guys. So we'll stay tuned. Yep. So, Brian, what was our beer pairing for this movie?
So
I can't believe you found one that was so spot on, actually.
There was, and actually the funny thing is there were 4 varieties from this brewery with BELZEBUTH. There was like a BELZEBUTH Rosé, there's a BELZEBUTH Rouge, BELZEBUTH something else, but the one I picked was BELZEBUTH Triple or Triple, depending on how you want to say it. I don't know.
I always say triple, but
I say triple too, even though that's not spelled like triple, and it's more spelled like triple. But I say triple, so I'm going to stick with it. And mispronunciation is a theme of the show anyway. So if we're wrong, then more the better, right?
Right.
But so this is it's from Brasserie Godal from Arques area of France.
Yeah, good luck tracking this one down.
Yeah, this is probably one that you're not going to be able to actually pair with this movie anytime soon. But so the description is beer in the golden dress with notes of spices and citrus, typical by the use of different grains, barley, malt, wheat, rye, and white oats. Little bit, it says, oh yeah, okay, it did say it right. Little bitter, the BELZEBUTH gives way to the expression of the grains and fruity aromas brought in its yeast. She wants to be dry and long in the mouth.
Okay, sounds good. I like my chocolates.
I'm for it.
8.5%, so it's not a light.
Nope, definitely not a light.
So, guys, we have a triple threat that we told you it was a low ball across the plate. Though Cody had a little bit. She got tripped up on this one. She might have been thinking too hard on this one.
Yeah. Oh, and our good buddy Tony, out of the blue.
Yeah.
One of our good coaster friends, Tony, who's awesome guy and does amazing coaster trips and stuff. He actually wrote to us right away on it, and he's like, he had it in like as soon as I posted it, he like had it 10 minutes later.
But to Cody's credit, she did get it.
Yes,
she did get it.
She stuck with it. And we had faith in her, and she kind of laughed it off as, boy, you have a lot of faith in me. I said, well, we know our horror group.
Right.
We know who's going to get this.
Right. So,
but like you said, I think she thought too into it.
Yeah, this one was actually simpler than if you could overthink this one easily. So we were looking for an actor or actress, and the answer was Paul Rudd. So clue number one, I hung out often with Cher, but my name isn't Sonny. Paul, of course, starred in Clueless as Josh, who hung out with his stepsister Cher, played by Alicia Silverstone. Clue number two, one of my biggest roles was also my smallest. Of course, Paul's biggest role, probably to date, was Ant-Man in the Marvel Universe movies. And then one of my early roles was in a much maligned sequel where I played an adult version of a character featured in the original. Of course, we're talking about Paul Rudd's turn as Tommy Doyle in Halloween 6. And Tommy Doyle is, of course, the kid in the original Halloween. So,
yeah, and by the way, one of the things, too, is remember that, because actually, and it's funny, Cody corrected me because she had thrown out a guess, and I said, no, that wasn't it, but remember, it's got to be horror-related. She did say that the person that she guessed was horror-related, too. But remember, that's always a clue, no matter how off the clues may sound. Remember, there's going to always be a horror connection to the answer.
Right.
I'm not just randomly picking people in Hollywood, picking them. So,
all right. So this week we're looking for another actor or actress. Now this one's quite a bit more difficult, guys. So
yeah, but I think it's gettable. It's gettable.
Yeah. Clue number one. Listen carefully. I'm best known for playing a character that was previously played by two other actors. Clue number two, I once played a character named Freddy, but went nowhere near Elm Street. And clue number three, I acted in the first two films of a franchise, and although the roles were extremely similar, I had a different character name in each. So that's kind of interesting. Played two different characters in the first two films of a franchise.
Yes. Yeah. And they are similar, so a lot of people may not even realize they were two different characters.
That's going to be, this one could be a little tricky.
I could see where people are hung up on it, but I think the first clue should really be looked at and then think about it. And from that point, you can probably piece together the other two.
Yeah, typically in these guys, one clue is the big hint. And the other two support the big hint. So, yeah, you just have to figure out which one, because they're not always in the same order. It's not always clue number one. It's not always clue number three. It could be any of the three.
Yeah, I like to change them up. And remember that the advice what Cody learned, sometimes don't look too into it either. Sometimes it's flat out right there. I mean,
yeah.
So.
All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back next week. I'm not quite sure what movie we're going to do next week. If you guys have any suggestions, write in and let us know. We're getting close to Halloween season. Our October horror movie challenge, we're gearing up for that.
Yes, that's in the works. And boy, I think people are going to love this year.
I think they will too. In September, we typically do a Stephen King month in honor of his birthday, but I don't know if we'll do that this year again, or we'll maybe change it up.
We could do it chapter 2 once you see it. So
yeah, we'll
I'm sure you're going to see that pretty soon into it. So we may put that. Maybe we'll do it's rare we do a theatrical film,
right?
But we might be able to.
Might be able to
pull
sneak
that
one
off.
So we'll see, guys. Check us out on Facebook. Our Facebook page is pretty active. Facebook.com. I think it's just Civil Gore Podcast. I think it's just full Civil Gore Podcast. And Twitter is at Civil Gore Pod. Instagram, you can find us Civil Gore Pod. Civil Gore Pod everywhere. Gmail is civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. It's either Civil Gore Pod or Civil Gore Podcast, no matter what platform you look for us on.
Yes, and don't be surprised if suddenly you see someone tweeting named Parker Decomposer.
That's right. We might have to have him or her open their own Twitter account. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would be a smart thing. Hey, listen, if Leah's Oboe can have a...
That's where we could put all our puns. We could just shift all our puns over to Parker Decomposer and blame him for it.
Right. I think that's what it... Because based on... she is based on a pun.
That's right.
So
I kind of think of him as a he, even though he's got...
I do, too. I know he's got the... But, you know...
But Parker is more... I mean, I guess it could go either way, but I kind of fondly think of him as a he, just because we're... Not to be sexist or anything. We're just male co-hosts, so he's kind of like...
Right.
So,
and it'd be kind of weird to have not only a nude but skinless female.
Yeah, that's
I don't. The mascot on our
I'm
show.
not a real serial killer. I just like watching them on TV. So
yeah, I don't want that representing us in any.
and as Brian pointed out, he does have nuts. So yeah.
Yes, he does have nuts. So that might just make him a man.
So yeah, guys. Again, thanks for listening. Leave us an iTunes review if you get a chance. I know it's a pain in the butt. But hey, it helps us get views and likes. And
then Tim could finally get rid of that box of fun stuff.
I've got a box of really cool stuff to give away, and I can't give it away because nobody will leave us an iTunes review. So it's your loss.
I just don't understand.
It's really cool
Come
stuff.
on.
And yet, to my fault, I haven't been posting the stuff on Instagram like I'm supposed to. But I really need to do that. I need to drag it out.
I've tried to get better. By the way, posting our clues and stuff. And did you see? I was very excited. We had a little like geeky excited moment when Diane Franklin liked the fact that she was the answer.
Yeah, that was
she
cool.
liked us on Twitter.
Really cool.
I was very excited because I was always been a big fan of Diane Franklin.
Now if we get Paul Rudd to like it, we'll be really cooking.
Oh, right. That's right. Well, we do follow him on Twitter. So, I told you my Paul Rudd story. I know it's wrapping up the show, but I told you I've met him and I actually did an imitation of him from Knocked Up, and he laughed. I made him laugh. Yeah. So my one of my bucket list item was made. I made an actual real comedian.
Now, was he laughing because it was so good, or laughing because it was so bad?
He laughed because it was so good.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Because I literally did his line, and he I think he actually was pleasantly surprised that I actually did such a good imitation. So
that's awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
he seems like a super
awesome
nice guy.
Oh my god, he was. I mean, it wasn't the greatest circumstances we were under, but that's for the stories for another day. But it was at a memorial. I'll just leave it at that. When I got to meet him, and he was actually really, really just a nice guy.
That's awesome.
So,
all right, guys. We'll see you back here next week. And don't let the devil invade your soul.
BELZEBUTH.